mortality should be less than 6% for symptomatic patients, 3% for asymptomatic patients, 10% for restenosis. We have different studies, European and American study. European study, you know, IVS3S, SPACE, ICCS, and in two studies, IVS3S and ICCS, surgery was much better than angioplasty. And, but these European studies have a lot of limitation with a high failure rate of carotid angioplasty, 3 to 5% is unimaginable. Emerging conversion, too many low volume center, incomplete antiplatelet medication. Embolic protection was not mandatory in SPACE and ICSS, and also inaccurate analysis. So it's difficult to take account of these registries and studies. For example, also training and experience. It's important to be well trained and experienced if you are integrated in this kind of study. For IVS3S, for example, you ask only for 12 carotid stents or 5 carotid stents among 35 subcarotid stents. You are not experienced, not enough trained if you want to be integrated in this study. So for this study, we can say inexperienced operator, inappropriate patient selection, patients were exposed to a twofold increased risk. None of the European studies fulfill the criterion of good medical practice. It's not the same with American study, randomized study, and registry. The first one, randomized study for high-risk patients, was the Sapphire study, well-known study, where you could see that angioplasty is better than surgery. And at 1 year follow-up also, you can see the difference between surgery and angioplasty. You see the difference. And at 4-year follow-up also, we don't have any difference. So we can say that we have no advantage of surgery over angioplasty. We have a lot of non-randomized registries, and you see a lot of series beginning in 2002 to 2009, and you have a decrease in the complication rate. And you can see that with experience and better equipment, you reduce the complication rate. And also with the last series, registries published with Phil Burnett, for example, GORE system, with EmboShield, with MoMA. In all these registries, you can see that the complication rate is less than 3%. Excuse me. So I want to skip that. So maybe the most important study now is this randomized study for standard risk patient, the QUEST study. Well-known study now, a prospective multicenter randomized control trial comparing asymptomatic surgery and angioplasty in asymptomatic and symptomatic patients, and all surgeons and interventionalists were highly qualified. The device used were Aculine carotid stent and Acunet embolic protection device, and all patients also received the best medical management. So what is important? You can see that there is no difference between surgery and angioplasty in terms of death. But there is no difference in terms of major stroke. There is a difference in terms of stroke, more stroke after angioplasty than surgery. For minor stroke also, more minor stroke after angioplasty, but more myocardial infarction after surgery. But if you add all death, stroke, myocardial infarction, you don't have any difference. So that's the end point. The fact that the excess risk of stroke in angioplasty was mainly due to minor stroke is significant because any disability related to minor stroke typically goes away within 1 week. Heart attack, on the other hand, carry a late consequence that stroke don't, increasing the risk of dying in 2 to 3 years by about 4-fold. And if you compare between, you see, myocardial infarction and minor stroke, you can see that the life expectancy is better after after minor stroke than myocardial infarction. So it's better to have a minor stroke. So also at 6 months, there is no difference in the neurological residual deficit rate by NIHSS. You see, there is no difference between angioplasty and surgery. So for the long-term result also, there is no difference between this study between angioplasty and surgery. So angioplasty is at least equal to surgery. But if you look at the cranial nerve injury, you have much more cranial nerve injury after surgery, but no cranial nerve injury after angioplasty. And also, if you look at access site complication, it's more important after surgery than after angioplasty. Problem of elderly patient. If you look at this result, you can say that maybe surgery is better than angioplasty after 70 years. So maybe that's the problem with this study. And if you look at the neurological complication rate after angioplasty in elderly patients, 12% is unacceptable. But in fact, a sub-analysis of CREST shows that although older patients have worse outcomes, the increase in complication is similar for CAS and surgery. There is no difference in octogenarian if you compare angioplasty and surgery. And you can see that during this study, after 2006, even in octogenarian, there is no complication. So we can say we can do angioplasty in octogenarian. In the literature, we have a lot of published data showing that even in elderly patients, octogenarian, we can do this angioplasty with a very low risk. And in our series, you can see that we don't have a lot of complication, 0.6 in octogenarian. So it's a very safe procedure, even in elderly. What is the implication? The implication for clinical practice. Considering the last registry and the CREST study, angioplasty and surgery are equivalent. Angioplasty is indicating for patients younger than 70, but surgery could be indicated for elderly patients, but in high-volume centers with experienced operator, angioplasty seems at least not inferior to surgery. It can be proposed to elderly patients. Angioplasty can be proposed to the majority of patients suffering from a carotid stenosis. And FDA recently approved angioplasty for symptomatic patients for a stenosis greater than 50% and for asymptomatic patients with a stenosis greater than 60% by angiography or 70% by duplex scan. The expanded indication is specifically for Acumen carotid stent system and for Acunet, but in fact, we can use any protection device. We don't have any difference with any protection device. We know that there are limitations for surgery, but we have also limitations for angioplasty. We cannot stent everyone. Clinicians should use the two therapies, angioplasty and surgery, in a complementary way so that patients get the lowest risk procedure possible. There will always be some patients who will do better with stenting and some who will do better with surgery. That's the way to reduce overall stroke rate and confer long-term benefits. But we need good indication, good patient selection, high-quality operator with sufficient experience. Good indication, you see symptomatic and asymptomatic patient, but we discussed that it's impossible to treat all asymptomatic patients with high-grade stenosis. The degree of stenosis for asymptomatic patient is not enough, and we need other parameters, ultrasonic plaque morphology, patient with vulnerable plaque are candidate, patient with silent brain infarct are candidates for surgery or angioplasty. Patient with impaired cerebrovascular reserve, deteriorated brain function, patient with asymptomatic embolization in median cerebral artery. We can see that by transcranial Doppler. So you need a lot of tests before deciding in asymptomatic patient if you have to treat or not. But the degree of stenosis is not enough. You have to select the lesion, the patient. You have medical limitation, anatomical limitation. Medical limitation, that means that we have high-risk patient for surgery and angioplasty, patient with high cardiac risk, patient with neurological risk, crescendo TIA, stroke in evolution, contralateral ischemic symptoms. They are high risk. Patient with renal insufficiency, diabetics, octogenarian, poor cerebral result. We have also anatomical limitation. When you have a clot like that, you don't have reversal flow, calcified lesion, maybe surgery is better. Maybe this kind of anatomical problem, it's difficult to place a protection device in that case. So the surgery could be better. Type 3 aortic arch, very diseased aortic arch also, because when you place guiding catheter, etc., catheter, you can detach plaque and have embolism. And also, you must have a correct technique, and it's a coronary technique with coronary wire. Also, different access. You have to choose your access. Most of the time, femoral, but you can use radial, humeral, even direct puncture in some cases. And you have to select brachial, radial, direct puncture maybe. When you have a bovine arch like that, it's better to engage your guiding catheter by radial approach or brachial approach. But if you don't do this access, surgery could be the best option. Brain protection in any case, and in study you can see without brain protection, the complication rate was 21%, with protection device less. So it's very important. Choice of the stent is very important also, but you choose the stent depending on the arterial anatomy and the lesion characteristic. For straight artery, you can use wall stent, any nitinol stent, but for tortuous artery, only open cell nitinol stent. The learning curve is very important. If you have experience, you can see that the complication rate is low. If you don't have a great experience, the complication rate is high. And you see with experience, you reduce the complication rate over time, and also in the CREST study between 2005 2008, you can see that the neurological complication rate is decreasing from 7% to 2%. So now we can do carotid angioplasty with less than 2% of neurological complications. So to conclude, with CREST study, we have enough reported data to say that angioplasty under protection is a safe and efficient procedure equivalent to surgery, but we need good indication, experienced operator. Indication were accepted for high-risk patients, but are now enlarged to patients at standard risk. Younger patients are the best indication for CREST, but elderly patients can also be treated with experienced operator. Indication for asymptomatic patients remains a problem. Thank you for your attention.
Well, that was very exhaustive, Dr. Henry. And in your personal practice, if you have a 75-year-old male with 75% stenosis, and he's had a TIA, let's say 1 year back in the same territory, ipsilateral territory, how would you treat this patient? Would you refer him for medical therapy, surgery?
I think we have to consider is a symptomatic patient, 70%, because with the new data CREST study, symptomatic patient greater than 50% is an indication. I agree, because symptomatic is symptom less than 6 months. But what is the difference? 6 months, 1 year. This patient, ITIA, the risk of new TIA, even a stroke, is maybe high. I think this patient could be treated. Clifford, what do you think? You treat this kind of patient, or you wait for another TIA, or maybe
One of the things that guides me, this is in an asymptomatic patient, but with a high-grade
Yes.
stenosis. I look at the diastolic velocity on duplex. If that diastolic velocity is around 120, certainly more than 110, I tend to want to intervene on that patient because that's the group of patients which Ali Aburama has shown are the ones that get into trouble down the road, even if they're asymptomatic. They're at higher risk than anyone else for that, because that indicates considerable turbulence in that area.
The problem is to operate
Right.
in good center for surgery or to do angioplasty in good center for angioplasty. The problem is always the same. Experience. If you refer a patient like that to a center with a very low experience, it's better to treat medically.
You would
Yeah.
choose surgery or carotid stenting in this patient?
It depends on the experience of the operator. I mean, I
It's
think
an
if you have
experienced operators either way, both good surgeon and a good
I'd have a surgery.
surgery.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, we'll have a debate on that.
Thank you,
One
Michelle,
more
for that
comment.
lovely talk. My question is, and it's actually an offshoot of your question, which you asked in the previous session. If you have a patient who needs a combined procedure, a stenting followed by surgery, which is not uncommon today, what is your protocol? When do you do the stenting? Same day, or do you space it out? What is the protocol for anticoagulation? Because you may want to stop some of the anticoagulant before the surgery.
Yes. So we did a study in Greece for this kind of patient, who had a very severe carotid stenosis. You have to refer to a surgeon for cardiac surgery. In general, we do carotid angioplasty, for example, this morning, and tomorrow the patient is referred to the cardiovascular surgeon under Plavix and aspirin, because we have to find a surgeon who accept to operate under Plavix, and we can do that without any problem. And we had 50 patients treated like that without any complication, hemorrhagic complication. So we can do that. The same for any interventional. Do you agree with this?
The only problem is regarding the anticoagulants. Quite often there is a controversy, stop anticoagulants or not. So you've answered that question in your series, and you said your results are very good.
That's
So
our
congratulations.
practice now.
Mr. Chairman, shall we move on to the next presentation as we run out of time? Thank you, Dr. Henry.